Hello, friends. Come on in, get comfortable. We will get started here in just a minute. Really excited for today's conversation. So we just opened those digital doors. We're looking for many of you to join us. Thanks to all of you that registered. We had a great RSVP list. I couldn't find my word right there, but a great RSVP turnout. So thank you for that. I'll just give a couple maybe just one more minute. But as we do that, please do utilize that chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from today, town, estate, anything good. I am in the Phoenix metro area, so Arizona, and it is beautiful and sunny here. Sorry for any East Coasters that are experiencing different weather. I wish I could bottle up some sunshine and spread it across the nation. Yes, please do just join us in the chat. Let us know where you are joining us from today. And I will go ahead and kick us off as everyone starts coming in and letting us know where you're joining us. I see some great, another LA, wonderful, Albuquerque. Of course, Hannah's in LA, wonderful, sunny LA, which we're neighbors, so that's great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Really excited to have you. This is the Fundraising Academy National University webinar, all about cultivating connections and elevating your donor relationships through strategic communication and turnkey tools. So thanks for being here. And Hannah, if you'll advance to the next slide, I will go ahead and say welcome. So Fundraising Academy, really thrilled to have you here. It's a phenomenal cause selling education model. We always say, you've got a cause, learn how to fund it. And I've got my book here with me to reference all great things. I've always said, if I had this model earlier in my career, 20 plus years ago, it would have served me so much better. So I'm really glad to have it now. So whether you're a new fundraiser, an experienced fundraiser, the cause selling model has some really great insight. If we haven't met yet, my name is Jarrett Ransom, she, her pronouns. I'm also a trainer at Fundraising Academy, and I'll be serving as today's moderator. We also want to say thank you to our presenting guest, our presenting speakers. So let me introduce them to you. We've got Hannah and Maggie, and I want to do them justice and honor their background. So Hannah Berger, MPA and CFRE. She is the president of the Philanthropy Coach, and she brings 20 plus years of experience as a professional fundraiser, nonprofit executive, campaign consultant, as well as a board member. In 2021, after a decade of consulting, I love this, as a side hustle, in addition to the full-time work as a senior development position, she founded the Philanthropy Coach, and it is a boutique nonprofit management and fundraising consulting firm that aims to leave every single client organization permanently improved. That's powerful, Hannah. She has supported dozens of nonprofit organizations in raising more than $150 million, specializing in major expansion campaigns, board recruitment, as well as development audits, program restructuring initiatives, as well as the creation and strategic development plans. She, Hannah, has also been a trainer for Fundraising Academy since 2018. She is also the current co-president of the AFP, Association of Fundraising Professionals, Greater LA Chapter. Thank you so much, Hannah. And Maggie Stillman, marketing and communications consultant, also with the Philanthropy Coach. Maggie is a communications professional with experience in social media marketing, digital and print communication, as well as donor relations. Through her work, Maggie has combined her marketing and her communications skills with her passion for community building through storytelling, and has used her expertise to support nonprofits in New York and LA. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Hunter College and a certification in nonprofit marketing and communications from Arizona State University. When she's not working, Maggie enjoys singing in the choir, creating art, especially watercolor, and spending time with her cat, Milo. So as you can hear, two amazing rock stars, Hannah and Maggie, thank you for being our presenters today, and I will pass it over to the two of you.
Thank you so much, Jared. I really appreciate you doing the introduction for us, because I hate talking about myself and it sounds so good coming out of you. So thank you. We're so pleased to be here today. But before Maggie and I dive into the topic at hand, we want to find out who's in the Zoom room. So we're going to pop up a poll. We've got 3 questions for you. The first, how many years of nonprofit fundraising experience do you have? The second is, how big is your current development team? And the third is, do you have a dedicated staff member or a vendor for your marketing and communications? These 3 questions are going to help us customize what we share with you today in real time. Okay, so let's see. Okay, got a good mix of folks today. Looks like we've got some smaller development teams present. Good, good, good. We've got a lot of recommendations around how you can maximize the talent that you have at hand now. And let's see, we do have about 16 of you said that you do have a dedicated staff member or a vendor for your marketing communications. That's really exciting.
Yeah, very
Okay.
exciting.
Great. Great. Okay. See, can we pop up those results? Okay, great. So to recap, good mix of experience in the room. Looks like we've got as many folks who are brand new to the field as we do senior seasoned folks. We've got most of us with small development teams, small shops. We've got lots of suggestions there. And then we do actually have focused attention to our marketing communications. It's part of our development strategy. So that's amazing. Okay, great. So are we good there, Jesse? Right. I'm going to close my poll out. Okay, so moving right along. Our agenda today, let me go back. Okay, so Jared did that wonderful introduction of Maggie and I. We're going to tell you just a little bit more about why you should trust anything that we say to you today, where the experience comes from, and the kind of clients we work with now, but nonprofit organizations that we have supported currently and in the past. We're going to get back to basics. What is marketing and communications, and why does it matter to your development strategy? We want to make sure that everyone who is here today feels like they have learned something new, and that you leave with brand new knowledge and tools for your toolbox. I'm also going to walk us through the cause selling cycle briefly. If you've been on a fundraising academy training before, you are very familiar with this foundational element of everything that we teach at Fundraising Academy. And that is our 8-step cause selling cycle that helps us elegantly, if you will, walk through our donor relationship. And we're going to point out and explain to you what types of marketing assets or communications tools you should have at your disposal for the most efficient relationship development process with your donors. And then Maggie's going to walk us through her tried and true process of creating tools, marketing assets that can be updated with minimal effort, so that you've got these sort of evergreen assets that will serve your organization for years to come and take minimal time to update and use. So we've also put together a workbook that will help you create a new donor welcome packet, which is an asset that Maggie's going to walk us through. It's a really incredible tool that helps you onboard your donors, which is something that we all should be doing, get them acquainted with your work. It's a beautiful piece of stewardship material. And she's also going to walk you through how to create really stellar thank you letters. So all in all, the key takeaways we want you to have when you leave this session today is an enhanced understanding of effective donor communications, what you might be missing right now and what you could be doing better. We want you to have these tried and true techniques that we know work because we've tested on them dozens of other organizations that you can implement to improve communications with your donors and to steward them better, take care of those relationships really well. And then you're going to have a framework for establishing your donor communications schedule. So we've all got lots of things on our plates, and we want to make sure that we are deepening relationships while keeping the behind the scenes as efficient as possible. right? That's super important, especially if we're running a small shop and we have a limited number of folks to do all of the development work. And then, of course, we want to leave you with tools. So you're going to walk away with some templates and a workbook that you can download that'll help you create new templates for your organization. Okay, hopefully that sounds good. Jared did that great introduction, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about myself. My name is Hannah Berger, rhymes with Donna, not banana. Unless you're British, that's a whole nother story. But I am a fundraising and nonprofit management consultant, founder of the Philanthropy Coach. I do empowerment coaching in addition to my consulting work. So that's actual certification as a coach, but I'm a firm believer that fundraisers are activists, and in order to empower the communities we wish to serve, we need to feel empowered in our own skin, empowered in our own networks, and empowered in the workplace. So it's a big part of what we do at the Philanthropy Coach. I've had a solid amount of experience at this point. Some of you might have noticed my eyes kind of, every time I hear 20 plus years, I'm like, how did I get this old? But hey, there's wisdom in it, right? And wisdom that I like to share with all of you and with all of our clients. I've raised a lot of money. I've been in a really honored position to help a lot of incredible people draw resources to the work they do. And it helps me fill my cup, and I love to do it. I am currently the proud co-president of the Association of Fundraising Professionals Los Angeles. So if you're looking for a group of incredible people doing the same work that you are doing, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to get you out to one of our events to meet some folks. And just a little personal stuff. If you ever want to talk about wine or trade dog pictures, I'm your lady. Maggie, you want to tell folks about yourself?
Yes, thanks so much. First, I have to start off by saying thank you so much to Fundraising Academy and to Hannah for inviting me to join this exciting opportunity. And second, as Jared mentioned, I am originally from New York, and I see Rianne is actually joining from my hometown of Newburgh, New York. So that is super cool. Small world. Shout out to Newburgh. But a little more about me. I'm affectionately known as the marketing maven. In addition to my work as the communications consultant for the Philanthropy Coach, I am the communications manager at a nonprofit called A Place Called Home in South Los Angeles. We serve youth about ages 8 to 19 and their families through after-school programs and summer programs in the arts, education, and wellness, as well as mental health and counseling support and regular community resource distribution events. I've got more than 7 years experience in the nonprofit sector, particularly with youth development organizations. I started actually on the program side. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I transitioned to development and now communications. As Jared mentioned, I have a nonprofit marketing and communications certification from Arizona State University. I am an Aperol spritz enthusiast and a self-proclaimed cat lady. I had to, we got to have all pets represented, and you can't see him right now, but I promise my cat is back there with his notebook, ready to take some notes on effective donor communications. So that's me.
Thanks, Maggie. I'm really hoping that Milo makes an appearance. So I do also want to mention, thank you, Faith and Jesse, who are quietly in the background today. But if you do have questions about anything sort of logistical, sharing out slides, the presentation, the recordings, more about Fundraising Academy, you can feel free to drop that in the chat or use the Q&A function. Also, as we're moving through the material today, because we are doing this webinar style, I strongly suggest that you use the Q&A function, because Jared's going to help us triage everything that comes in, and there will be time, lots of time for questions at the end. Okay. So let's start with defining some things, take it back to basics. What is communications? Communication is all about getting information from one party to another. And we do this in a variety of ways, right? It's the process of exchanging, expressing, conveying information. We could do this in writing. I'm communicating with you right now by using language and words and gestures. I'm known to use my hands quite a bit. So that is communication. Now, what is marketing? Marketing is the activity, institutions, process for getting what we want to convey to the party we want to convey it to, right? It's the tools we create. It's helping folks understand what the call to action is, right? Here's a great example of an advertisement that's about giving blood. So what are we trying to communicate here? That it's important to give blood, you know, how you can save a life by donating. And we are doing this through this marketing tool of advertising. Okay, so together, they go hand in hand in order to create brands, right? To help educate the public about your organization, about the work you do, about the lives you impact, right? So it's not just about getting really good at telling your story or coming up with the messaging in order to effectively inspire our current donors to keep giving and to attract new supporters. We have to understand how marketing and communications work together. So communication is really what we're saying and the messages that we want to convey, and marketing is the how we reach the audience that we want to communicate with. Okay, so keep this in mind as we move through the materials today. I think it's important to understand how this all kind of flows into fundraising. Early in my career, I thought they were completely separate. I thought that marketing was what salespeople did, and that fundraising was not about ads. It wasn't about selling. It wasn't about, like, they were two separate things. And now that I've been doing this work for over 2 decades, I can tell you that that's incredibly incorrect, right? While the for-profit sector does business for reasons that are very different than the nonprofit sector, there are still a lot of ways that marketing is super similar, right? We use the same platforms, right? We social media, television, print, radio, now podcasting, right? These are all the same exact platforms that we would use whether we were selling a product or selling our organization to donors. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the cause selling cycle. Again, if you're new to Fundraising Academy, if this is your first training, this is the foundational element of everything we teach at Fundraising Academy. It's our cause selling cycle. And to walk you through it very quickly, there are 8 steps, 3 phases. We break this down into incredible detail if you ever take the cause selling accelerate training. And you can also find webinars about it on the Fundraising Academy website. But we start with prospecting, our first phase, which is identifying people who could be potential great supporters and partners for your organization, right? Just identifying them. And then in the pre-approach, really qualifying if they're a good fit, doing research about them, identifying how we get to that person who in our network can connect us. Do they share the same affinity for the work we do, for our mission? Are there, you know, do they have the capacity to make philanthropic gifts, or do they have folks in their networks that could, right? So in the second phase is all the research we do before we actually make contact, which is the approach. The approach is when we introduce ourselves and our organizations and try to get the attention of the prospective donor. Need discoveries, once we have their attention, really interviewing them, getting to know them, identifying what you know, need that they have that they could fulfill through philanthropic giving. For some people, that is making a legacy. For some people, that is having deeper connection to community. For some people, it's a tax break. There's lots of different reasons why people give. And as professional fundraisers, nonprofit executives, it's our job to spend the time in identifying what those needs are and how we can meet them, right? It's a two-way street. And then presentation, that one's probably pretty obvious when we're talking about marketing and communications, but the presentation is actually, you guessed it, presenting exactly what it is that we want the potential donor to invest in. So when I'm consulting on major capital campaigns, we're talking about a building, you know, expanding programs, bringing on additional staff, maybe an endowment fund, whatever the full package is. We always have this great slide deck, maybe a video, all these wonderful materials that'll back up presentation. And then handling objections. People are going to have questions and concerns That's how you prepare yourself to get as close to a yes as quickly as possible, as we want to have answers to those potential questions and objections. The ask is when we actually say, we would like you to consider making a gift of $1 million to this campaign today, right? We go into detail in the Fundraising Academy training, actually working to script this out and get really comfortable with that language. But by the time we get to the ask in Fundraising Academy, what we teach, the cause selling way, is that we know we are already at a yes when we ask that question, because we've done our due diligence through phase 2. And then stewardship, what I like to call the care and feeding of our donors. So once they're in the family, what do we do with them? We take extraordinarily good care of them, because if we have a great relationship with them, they will likely introduce us to people that get us back into phase 1, right? They're helping us to prospect, and around and around and around we go. So today we're talking specifically about marketing communications. There are tools that we should have at hand that will enhance this experience and help us move faster, if you will, through the process of building forever relationships with supporters. So in phase 1, prospecting, think about your social media, right? Social media shouldn't just be posting to teach the general public about what you do. That's super important. But you also need to be paying attention to who's engaging with the material that you are putting out, right? So if you see there are people that are liking everything you post, that are commenting on it, and you don't know who they are, that's a great indication that you should be looking at them as a potential prospect, right? Bringing them in as a donor. The pre-approach. So when we're doing our research to figure out alignment and how we're going to make contact with and draw the attention of this prospective donor, having things like an organization one sheet, literally a one sheet. Of course, it can be digital, as most things are these days, but a brief document with images and succinct statements about your values, your programming, your mission. Having that at hand as a reference guide for you as you're trying to figure out, how does this potentially interested party align with us, and what am I going to approach them with first, information-wise, to get their attention. Then there's the approach, the actual connecting, introducing yourself, the organization, to the potential donor, having an excellent, succinct, again, email template, maybe with a video embedded, maybe with images from a recent event, program, testimonial from some of the people that you serve. That can be a really powerful tool that will stand out against the sea of, not personalized emails that we are all getting in our inboxes these days. So coming up with a really solid template, also with a catchy subject line that gets your attention, is really important to have on hand. When you're doing your need discovery, so you've got their attention, they've agreed to get on Zoom with you, and you're going to answer questions for them about your organization, but also be prepared to ask them questions, right? You're interviewing your way towards a first gift and a long-term relationship. Having tools at hand that you can pop up on your screen if you're meeting remotely. So the organization's website, if you have one, which you should, chances are there's a lot of information there that you could share, right? So using your website, that marketing tool, as a piece of the puzzle in your conversation is going to be really beneficial. And again, that one sheet that I referenced in the pre-approach, you can pull that out and use it as an alignment tool to talk through the various programs that you offer and find out what sparks, what lights them up most. And then presentation, having a slide deck, having a brochure for our more seasoned donors who still aren't quite as digitally savvy as the rest of us. Those are key elements that when we're working on a major campaign, we always help the client create and have at hand. And then overcoming objections, having really solid infographics to commonly asked questions can be a game changer. A lot of people are visual learners, right? And so it's really important to be prepared to communicate with people in ways that make the most sense to them, that they have the easiest time sort of digesting. So infographics, comparative data, if a donor is asking you questions let's say about the number of people that you could be serving if they make an investment versus who you're serving now. Having, you know, current client, projected clients, that kind of comparative data, again, in a visual display can be really effective. And then success stories, video testimonials, even a picture of a person with a quote. Those are powerful tools that we can have in our marketing assets at the ready to really enhance preparing a donor to make a first investment or make a stretch investment in a major campaign. And then the ask, this is, but again, by the time we get here, our work should be done, but just in case. Again, when we're going into like a major campaign conversation, we always have a gift chart, which is generally a one-sheet tool. It's like a table that shows, you know, the number of donors you need at each level of giving. So let's say you're going to raise $100,000 and you need 10 donors at $10,000, right? Just having this, again, visual element, this marketing tool, communication tool that you can slide across the desk and put in front of a potential donor can really help move the conversation forward. And you'd be really surprised how willing people are to point at something as opposed to say the words out of their mouth. So, and then stewardship. And this is what we're going to focus our step-by-step walkthrough of really key materials that we suggest you have at hand and that we're going to give you a workbook to create your own. The new donor welcome packet. This is something that Maggie created when we were working together at a place called Home, and it had just really fantastic results from our donor community. She'll walk you through it, but it's really fantastic. And it's something that if you put together once, you can use it for years and years and years to come with minimal updating, minimal effort from your team. And then thank you letters. I hate to say it, unpopular opinion, a lot of nonprofit organizations are just phoning it in when it comes to thank you letters. Thank you letters and tax receipts, while they can be one and the same, you can meld those two things together. They've got very different vibes. And if you want to have your donors always thinking of your institution, your organization with warm, fuzzy feelings, stop sending them a tax receipt. Send them a thank you letter that has their tax information in it, right? You want them to feel appreciated, connected, and just, you know, full of joy that they're a part of your community. So I want to hear from you. I've rambled on long enough. In the chat, share with us, how do you currently communicate with your donors? What sort of tools do you have at your disposal? What are you using now? Instagram and email. Okay, thank you, Efren. Anyone else? Presentations and emails, great. Email and presentations, okay. I'm curious, a lot of you are saying emails. Do you have email templates that your team uses and you know, that you know have great results? Oh, here we go. Calls, cards, coffee, meet, thank you letters, emails. Wonderful. I love that you said calls, Doug. Email. Oh, Heather said calls too. Email, text, social, lots and lots of email. Great. Handwritten notes. I love that, Susan. Okay, beautiful. And let me ask you this while we're all sharing. If money and time were not an issue, how would you be communicating with your donors? Are there other tools that you would want to utilize? Maybe things that you've seen from other organizations that you would, you know, love to put into practice if you had more time and money? Brandon, in-person meetings, yes. Jared said video messages. Yes, I love video. It can be pricey though. Anything besides video that folks have seen and would want to use? Jared, can you tell us more about Punk Post postcards?
Yes, I would love to. Let me see if I can pull this up. And I will show my video as well. So this is a company, it's called Punk Post. I have a couple of them here, and they are thank you notes that I received. But if you open it up, they are handwritten. And I absolutely love these, Hannah, because it's an app you could download on your phone. It's called Punk Post. If anyone also knows like send out cards, I think it's like a second iteration of that. They are not connected. But it's handwritten. You get to say, you know, what you put on there. And they're just fun, you know. It's like I'm certainly not this creative, but this is fun to get. So I use them personally, but I also use them in my business. So they make great birthday cards, they make great thank you, gratitude, you know, cards, things like that. So yeah, shout out to Punk Post. I'm not an affiliate, but I do love their product.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love learning about new businesses that we should all know about. That's great. And Maria said, printed biannual newsletter, in-person events, gatherings, and special webinars. Maria, I'm curious, is that things that you would want to do if time and money were an issue, or are you already doing those things? I feel like I'm on a delay with the chat, but that's okay. Oh, yes, we would like to do all these. We used to do them, but over the years, losing staff, we've not been able to. Got it. Okay. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, those are all great things. And special webinars. I like that. Okay. Well, feel free to keep adding ideas that you want to share with the community. I'm a big fan of pulling the genius out of the Zoom room as opposed to just being the one, you know, giving up information. So feel free to keep sharing. I'm going to pass to Maggie so that we can get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty around communication trends. And then she's going to get into how to create some really great turnkey tools that'll help expedite your communications with your donors. Maggie, take us away.
Thank you, Hannah. And I'm excited looking at all these things that people wish they could do. I'm seeing a lot of printing in there. Printing can be really expensive, especially lately. So I feel you on that. But I'm liking the creativity that's coming out of this chat. Communications, these span kind of a wide range of topics. We could dive into each one individually and spend an hour and a half going into each one, but just to give you kind of a broad idea of the sector of what's happening. So as we all can probably relate to, 87% of nonprofits surveyed identified that lack of time, resources, and budget were factors restricting their success when it comes to communications. So having that time to reach out to donors, to do those phone calls, to send those letters, having the money to print them, those are all things that I'm sure we all know are affecting our ability to really do this. And that's part of the reason we wanted to do this workshop, is to share with you kind of our little loopholes of how you can still have that personal touch without spending hours and hours of your time and your team's time trying to, you know, get all these letters out and do all of those things. So we're here to save you time because it is important to do these things. Contrary to that, just over half, 52% of communications teams either grew in 2023 or are expected to grow in 2024. So like I said, lack of time, resources, but it is an important thing that people are kind of waking up to. I like to say that the nonprofit usually is a little bit behind the corporate trends. So we're all kind of getting on the communications and marketing bandwagon now and realizing that it is a really valuable fundraising tool. As Hannah shared at the beginning, they go hand in hand. Marketing and communications are part of fundraising. And then just a couple like actual content trends. I'm of two minds when it comes to content creation. The first being, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So nonprofits have some of the best email open rates, averaging 40.03%. That's stellar in comparison to other industries. So this is something that I personally have been using for forever in my nonprofit communications career, and it's working. People are opening them. We have engaged communities on email, so definitely stick with that one. But also 69% of businesses planned on making more videos in 2023. I'm sure we've all heard about TikTok or on TikTok, Instagram Reels, where you can get TikToks a week later, you know, all of that fun stuff. But that's really coming to the forefront, and people are interested in that compelling video content, short, I might add, because attention spans are shrinking by the second. But that's something that we're exploring as we move into this new year in communications and marketing. So I want to preface before I get into all of this stuff, it can sound overwhelming. I personally was a team of one at a place called Home, doing communications for about 2 years. I think I finally got some help in the form of a digital communications coordinator, which is exciting. But I know that this can be overwhelming if you've got a small team, which I think we've got a lot of people from small shops. So don't take this as me saying like, you need to go out and do this immediately. We're starting from basics. We're looking at how we can improve what we've already got going on and make our basis really strong so that we can free up the time to grow and to do more. But if I say something like, oh, you know, post on Instagram 3 to 5 times, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to like jump on and make an Instagram account right now. And if your team doesn't have the time for that, we're going to take it slow. I'm going to share a lot of information with you. Please feel free to ask questions, but we want to give you a really solid foundation because it will help your fundraising in the long run. Okay, preface over. So where do we start, right? Like there's a lot going on. We need to start somewhere. So that's our initial assessment, the who and the how. So we're looking at audiences, and we want to identify who our current audience is. So a target audience is a group of consumers characterized by behavior and specific demographics. So that can be age, gender, profession, giving behavior, all sorts of things. And we want to take a look at who our current audience is. Who are the majority of our donors? What age are they? What professions are they in? Do they span a range of things? Are they kind of from one specific group? Take a look at who your supporters are. And then we're looking at where are they getting their information? Are they on online news sites? Are they on social media? Are they reading print? Are they listening to podcasts? A really effective way that I do this, it tends to break down pretty evenly with age, and you can look at kind of generations, like the younger people are on TikTok, older people maybe on Facebook and Instagram, and it tends to break down pretty well like that, and you can kind of look at it that way. And once we've identified, okay, who are we talking to and where are they, we want to say, are we meeting them where they are? If the majority of our supporters are on Facebook, do we have a Facebook account? If they're on LinkedIn, do we have a LinkedIn account? We're just assessing if we are effectively and actually reaching out to the people who are supporting us. And that's where we want to start. And we want to look at their giving behaviors. Are they responding to our Facebook posts? Are they mailing us a check? How are they behaving in terms of the giving? So that's where these kind of communications and marketing and fundraising elements meet. And once we've done all of that, we know who our people are. We can look at the bigger picture and say, are we missing people? Are we, you know, or are we getting, like Hannah mentioned before, a lot of engagement on our social media, but then that age group isn't actually following through with a donation? All of the social media platforms now have this really great thing called insights. So you can actually look right on the app and say, you know, this percentage of our audience identifies as female, identifies as male, this is where they're located, this is their age. So you can really get granular with that data and identify, okay, the majority of our supporters are, you know, young professionals, mid-20s to mid-30s, but they're all on TikTok and we're not on TikTok. So you can kind of assess it that way and just get a grasp on how you're currently communicating with people and then where you can grow from there.
Yeah. Can I add one quick thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love giving examples from our clients. And another thing is when you're doing this assessment, so Maggie mentioned insights, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all those platforms have insights that you can easily access through your account to see, who is interacting with your account. In addition to that, it's really a little shocking, but when we're in the work, sometimes we just get tunnel vision and we kind of forget about all these other audiences that we're attempting to reach. So we have a client right now that has this incredible college preparation and success program, and they do a lot of marketing to identify mentors. We started working with them, and I said to them, great, how frequently are you communicating to your mentor audience, to ask them to become donors, to support financially? And they were like, oh, well, we don't. Those are separate groups. Are they though? So we're here to talk about fundraising. I would encourage you, as you think through all the different community groups that you are speaking to through your marketing efforts, probably all of them should be given the opportunity to also support your organization financially. So identifying how you do that, right? Does it mean that you have to interpret your marketing materials into several languages? Does it mean that you should be posting certain campaigns on every single one of your platforms? Do you just post campaigns on, one of the platforms and send out via email? Like really thinking through these things. And I also want to say that beyond using insights, a lot of this is anecdotal. A lot of it is in your gut because you're interacting with your community most, and that's okay, right? As you're doing your assessment, you want to just kind of get all the information, all the data that you have at hand down on the page so that you can start to assess, who are we missing and who else we want to target. Okay, Maggie, I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah. I see.
And ladies, we have one question. And I would love to interject it here, Maggie, to see how you and Hannah might want to address in particular, perhaps how these examples are also applicable beyond the individual donors and perhaps an approach, towards grant applications, if you could also address that.
Yeah. I think a lot of them and a lot of the materials that we'll get into are actually applicable as is, specifically the new donor welcome packet. You might not call it a new donor welcome packet, but it really is, as you'll see, kind of a collection of the most important parts of your organization all in one kind of package. And specifically at a place called Home, we've used this to attach to grant applications and share more. Another example, we have something called the South Central Sports League, which is our organization spearheaded this initiative to bring organized sports to South LA. And we just launched a new webpage, and our grant writer is actually sharing that link when she applies for these grants. She's saying, hey, and we've got this great website with a bunch of pictures and video of the league in action, so they can really see the visuals instead, because grants can get a little boring with all the language, and there's of course requirements that you have to meet, but adding that extra touch of these elements, of these visuals, can actually really be helpful in the grants process.
Yeah, not only helpful, but sometimes required. I don't know how many of you represent organizations that may have applied for the Yield Giving Open Call, but they required a video be part of that submission process, right? So I know some folks were scrambling to make that happen, and those that take the time to do an assessment and identify the gaps in their marketing assets were kind of ahead of the curve, right? And it's 2024. There's a movie that's, streaming on major platforms right now that was filmed on an iPhone. So you don't have to spend a fortune to create video. Let's keep going. Great question. Thank you for that.
Okay, and before we get into the actual materials themselves, I just wanted to share a framework and kind of best practices as you go into creating and maintaining these specific items. So the first, as we've been talking about this whole time, you want to personalize these pieces. While you are creating something that you're going to use over and over, there are ways to have like the text fill in for each individual person. So you don't, unless you don't have their name, you don't want it to say something like dear friend, you really want it to say dear Bob, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So a personalized greeting is really important as you're making these. And then specific statistics and stories, like for a place called home, for example. It's great to say that we serve youth in South LA through programs in the arts, education, and wellness. But what does that really mean? What are we doing on a daily basis? Are we providing visual art instruction for 25 members every day? Are we feeding 1,000 meals to our members each week? Are we providing 100 hours of mental health support each week to our families? What are we actually doing that fulfills our mission? And then also sharing success stories. A great example from a place called home. We are so excited that we actually have 2 alumni people that were members of our organization on our board of directors, which is like just an amazing accomplishment for us all. And we had them, when they stepped on the board, share their stories, their experiences as members, and how that translates to what they bring as board members. And that really resonated with a lot of people. We also want to limit graphics, specifically on social media, like event flyers, things that are designed are great in moderation, but we really want to get photos and videos and show the work in action. Smiling faces are way more engaging than colorful shapes put together. And scheduling is your best friend. As I mentioned, we all have limited time and resources. So if you can front load some of that work and spend a couple hours in one day scheduling out the posts for the week or scheduling out your emails, that will save you a lot of time in the long run. I think we've got a bullet point of lists of some of the platforms, MailChimp and Constant Contact for email, and then I've used Later and Hootsuite for social media, but it really does help. You know, you get that off your plate and you can focus on other things. And then don't overload things with text. Thank you letters, social media posts. Try to limit the text to the most important points that you want to get across, and replace that extra space with images. People love to see images. And finally, simple materials are better than none at all. So don't feel like you need to run out and hire a professional graphic designer. While that's great, and if you have the capacity to do so, awesome. Creating something simple image, simple text is better than just not doing it at all. We want to engage our community, and sometimes even things that are a little rough around the edges actually get more engagement because they feel real. And it, you know, your supporters kind of feel that grassroots aesthetic, if you will. So do something.
Maggie, what's your do you want to tell them a little bit about Canva in case they don't know?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for, you know, something super easy, Canva has a million templates. I go between Canva and Adobe Express, depending on what I'm creating. But yeah, Canva has some great, just you can like type in exactly what you need and it'll show up. I would recommend kind of editing a little bit so it's not exactly the same as someone who might be using the same template, but it's a great design resource. It's a resource if you're limited on time.
And Canva is free for nonprofits. So
yeah.
If you don't know, now you know.
With all those platforms as well, they all have nonprofit discounts, usually at least 50%. So look into that because they're lifesavers. And now the pièce de résistance. We're getting to the communication tools that we've been talking about this whole time. This here is the cover of our new donor welcome packet, something that I created for a place called Home in collaboration with Hannah, probably in 2019, 2020. It's been a while.
2019. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this was our way of reaching out to our donors because we realized that people were making donations, getting a letter, and then it was kind of like, now what? And we wanted to re-engage those people and share with them all the other ways that they could get involved with a place called home, because there are a lot. And this was our way of doing it efficiently, but still making people feel like a part of the community. So every time someone makes a new donation, they get this letter on the left from our CEO, and they get this new donor welcome packet. So the letter kind of just shares our thanks and encourages them to read through the welcome packet and consider how they might further contribute their skills, their time to a place called home and fulfilling our mission. We can go to the next one. Okay, this is the inside. And yeah, here's the meat and potatoes of it all. So the first page, we're defining who we are. Right off the bat, we're sharing what the organization is and what our values are. So we've got our little reach ladder there. Our respect, empathy, accountability, courage, and hope. Those are the values that we instill in our members and our staff and in our community as a whole, which does include donors, volunteers, mentors, all of the above. And we've got some great photos of our social media posts, of our Girl Power event celebration there, of a volunteer project. And we've also got a link to our YouTube where they can see our agency video. So that's detailing what we do and telling our story visually rather than just kind of explaining to somebody on paper what it is. And then we've got our core focus areas. So really breaking this down because we want to invite people to get involved in what they care about. So if they're really into music or theater, or they really want to help out with our gardens or do tutoring, we've got all the options there and they're listed out, and our supporters can really drill down and find something that they're passionate about supporting. And in the long run, it helps us as well. And then we finally got our paths to engagement. So these are all the ways that people can get involved with us. So of course, up first, we've got volunteers, we've got hands-on or virtual opportunities, we've got one-time volunteer opportunities, annual commitments, our mentoring program. The possibilities are endless. And then we've got our social change club, which is something that we actually conceptualized to appeal to that younger professional demographic who might not be able to make 4, 5, 6-figure gifts, but can give $10 or $20 a month in exchange for networking opportunities, event tickets, priority volunteer experiences, super cool merch that's exclusive to them. So that was our way of kind of inviting that group of people in. And then we've got opportunities to mobilize their networks to start a fundraiser. We use Classy, and they have this great thing where people can just click to become a fundraiser. And then a page pops up and suddenly they're fundraising for APCH, and they can invite their friends, their coworkers, their mailman, you know, whoever, to give to a place called home. And we've also got special events. We love to have people invite new friends to our gala, to our annual community events. We've got one for back to school. We've got a Thanksgiving event. These are really opportunities for these folks to get their communities involved with a place called home as well. And then finally, we've got the opportunity to create a legacy. So this is for those 5, 6, 7-figure gifts for people to really invest in our community and invest in themselves and feel good about the impact that they're making. Did you have anything to add on that, Hannah? Or
I'll just say that this is really on brand aesthetically for a place called home, right? So bright colors, lots going on, beautiful, happy kids. That's APCH. Yours doesn't have to look anything like this, but I do want to kind of drive home that this is a piece that could both be printed in a bifold, right? Front, middle, back. But it's also shared all the time digitally. So if people give digitally, they receive this digitally. And it's live linked to places on the website, to, as Maggie said, the agency video on YouTube. It's, you know, the options that would be on the back of the printed version, live link them right to sign up for Social Change Club, to sign up for mentoring, for volunteerism. So it's really interactive, right? And that's where we're seeing, or we're seeing in the past, and it's a tool that's still used today. It's just been updated, right? So the organization's gotten 5 years out of this one design piece. So I just kind of want to underscore that for folks. And that's why we're encouraging, we always work with, we work with our clients to create similar pieces like this that feel like their brand and their organization, but really help them onboard their donors and immediately engage them in another way, right? Whether it be another level of giving or volunteerism that gets them to a longer term, deeper commitment. Let's check the chat real quick before we move on. Yes, we will have the deck available after the session. Thank you. Okay. Good to go, Maggie?
Yeah, thanks for that, Hannah. I love that. Yes,
Yeah, of course.
Definitely make it look like you want it to be reflective of your organization. So now we're moving on to thank you letters. So these are examples, again, from a place called home. Something you'll notice about the letter is it's very short. It's not a ton of text. There's some great images on the bottom. And it really just is a couple sentences expressing gratitude. This actually is a letter that really in real life was sent to Hannah because she brought our development staff snacks one day as we were prepping for holiday events. And so we sent her this letter of our appreciation for the chips that she brought us. And yeah, so we've got her gifts listed there, but also a little bit about how her gift has impacted our team's work and how we'll be able to kind of better produce these events now that we're hopped up on sugar and salty things. But that's an example of something that we would use at a place called home. And then on the right there, you'll see our letter, which was also sent to Hannah as she is a member of Social Change Club for her annual giving to that recurring giving program. So again, a great image, colorful, really captures the essence of a place called home while expressing our gratitude and also giving her the important tax information that she needs.
Yeah, and I'll just point out also that these are seasonal, right? So while the letter copy might be a template where the donor name's dropped in, where the donation amount is dropped in, where if it's an in-kind donation, that description is, the things that stay are the imagery, the CEO signature, right? And as you can see, the letter on the left, I dropped off those goodies in December because it was the holiday season. I got a happy holiday with great pictures of the members, and staff taking part in the holiday festivities. So.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, social media. This is not APCH. This is the Philanthropy Coach because I also manage the social media for Team TPC as well. If you've noticed some content variation, that is my doing. And if you aren't following us, you should do that. But this is an example of how to break up some of that graphic content and use some more images. So we've got my favorite image of Hannah stepping off the bus at the, what was it called? The Bubbly Business Bus?
Bubbly Business Bus presented by Skatina Daniels, San Diego.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the caption for this was like stepping into the weekend, and then we offered some questions about gratitude and what we're looking forward to entering the weekend. But the visual is really captivating because it's not something that you might expect from a company that works with nonprofits on fundraising and such. But that was one of our most engaged with posts, and we had a ton of comments of people sharing their plans for the weekend, what they're grateful for, just about the weather, all sorts of things. So that's really what the goal is here, and social media is a great tool for that. We want to connect with people. We want to build that rapport so they feel like they know us, and not just feel, but really know us and communicate with us and understand that they're valuable, that they're a part of this community for more than just their money. We want to talk to them. We want to know what they're interested in supporting. And ultimately, it's beneficial for all of us.
Absolutely. The other thing I want to point out is one, Maggie, I'm telling Maggie, she uses Canva to do our design work for our socials. And then two, you can see that some of these are elements that were not created by our team, but that we are promoting. So never forget that your social media is an opportunity to promote the relationships that you already have. So that can be congratulating one of your individual donors on some sort of achievement and just kind of sharing that in your stories. We're so proud and to congratulate Maggie Stillman on her award of Woman of the Year, right? Or it can be one of your corporate partners that's done something great. They're in the news. Or let's say you've got a volunteer group come in, right? You can never capture too many moments of your community in action. I am terrible about that as a business owner. As a former, when I was chief development officer, we did a great job of trying to capture as much as possible. I'm really good at taking pictures of other people doing great things. So never forget that, like, what people really want to see is real life. We've got way more engagement on me stepping out of a bus than we did on a post about a book that, I deeply cherish and want everybody to read. So the realer, the better, right, Maggie?
Yeah, perhaps we'll do a video of you reading said book, and then that'll get more engagement.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about the what, and finally we're going to get into the when. So talking about the timeline. And of course, this will vary based on your time and your team capacity. So first, the new donor welcome packet. If you've got a CRM that allows you to send files automatically, we use Salesforce at a place called Home. It doesn't allow us to send that whole PDF. But if yours does, then set it up to send automatically. That'll save you a ton of time. But what we do at APCH is a monthly send. So for example, this month we sent out, during the first week of March, we sent out our new donor welcome packets to everyone that donated in February. So we kind of do it that way on a monthly basis. And then with our donor acknowledgement letter, we do have the capacity to send just that text and image layout with Salesforce. So we do that. So it's automatic. We set it and forget it until we do updates for specific initiatives. But for the most part, it just runs on its own and automatically inputs the donor name and the amount and all that good stuff. So it's really easy for us and easy on our team. If you don't have that capacity, we recommend that you send it within 1 week. So whether that's like collecting everyone that's donated and then sending it on a specific day, or you're kind of keeping track individually, whatever works for you, just within 1 week, because we want to be timely. We don't want to be acknowledging a gift from 3 months ago. We want to make sure they A, get their tax information, but B, are excited and encouraged to get involved right away. We recommend, as Hannah mentioned before, updating this for special events and initiatives, and also quarterly. So refresh your statistics. If you've got new success stories, add in some new data. Just make it, brighten it up a little bit as you move through it, so that people aren't getting kind of the same thing the whole year, because we know you've got a lot of great stuff going on. And then if you have the time and capacity, if you can take it a step further, well, I think this was the last point on the previous slide. Yeah. If you have the time, you could even segment it further to give different letters based on the amount of gifts. So if someone's given once, they get this letter, and then once they've given 5 times, they get a different one. Or you break it down by subject matter. If they've given to your gardening program, you have a specific letter for people that have donated to your gardening program. That's only if you have the time. You can get really specific, but if not, we recommend just doing a general update quarterly so that they're at least getting some refreshed data. Okay. For email marketing, we recommend sending monthly general updates, including what's going on within your programs, calls to action if you've got events coming up, things like that. put it all into one and send it out each month and let your supporters know this is what's going on here this month. And then we also recommend doing some, sorry, there's a plane flying by. Doing some special event promotion individually. If you've got a big fundraising event coming up, if you're trying to meet a match goal, you can send those things separately. And again, we use MailChimp so we can write it and schedule it and then forget about it and move on to something else. And then social media. So our recommendation is to post 3 to 5 times a week. However, like I said before, when I prefaced this, it can be overwhelming. So consistency is key. If you've got the capacity to post once a week, post once a week. Start posting on the same day, whether it's a Motivation Monday, Feel Good Friday, whatever the case may be. Get your supporters accustomed to looking at, oh, Hannah's organization is posting every Tuesday, and you're constantly showing up on their feed in that time frame. I would recommend that over kind of overloading, we're posting 5 times this week and then we don't post for 3 months and then we're posting 3 times. Consistency is key in social media. And like I mentioned, when we showed the image of the Philanthropy Coach Instagram, vary your subject matter. So share success stories, photos, videos, share current projects, upcoming events. Like Hannah mentioned, share your partner's work, share things going on in the community, in your area. Share I keep going back to this gardening example, but if you've got a garden, share gardening tips, share, what plants are in season. That's another value added for the people that are following you and something they can look forward to seeing each week.
Yeah. And I'll add this here. So today we're talking about marketing communications, enhancing your fundraising efforts for your organization. But sometimes we forget that we are a part of that brand as individuals, right? As a face, a representative, an ambassador to the organization. So strongly encourage everyone that I coach and all of my clients to get active on LinkedIn. I know that for some of us, it's not the fun platform, but if you post once a week, it will significantly enhance who is seeing you out in the world. It will enhance the brand of your organization. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be about your org, but I strongly recommend, like, if there's a press release that goes out, if there's some beautiful news that's, coming out of your organization's annual report that you really want to share, if it's an anniversary, a work anniversary for you, sharing that kind of stuff on your LinkedIn profile is only going to help make your organization look better and enhance your fundraising efforts. 2 cents.
Yes, everyone
Okay. Do we have any questions? I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
Thank you both so much. That was amazing. I have some questions, but I would love to remind everyone watching and listening, if you started multitasking and you're like, wait, we're about to wrap up, now's the time to ask those burning questions that you have for our amazing presenters. Again, thank you to Maggie and Hannah. We are not done yet, but I do want to say thank you because I took about a page of notes myself and learned some really good information. As some of our guests are starting to jot down their questions, I'm going to ask one of mine, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
All right. So my first one is, can we dive a little deeper about the assets, like the marketing communications tools and the assets? And so I'm really curious in particular, what inventory tool do you use to capture the assets? If you can just talk a little bit more about that so that our listeners maybe have a little bit more guidance on where to begin.
Yeah. Meaning, like, where do we keep them? Like,
where do you keep them? Yeah, because I'm imagining, we have social posts, we have impact reports, we've got, perhaps this amazing donor welcome packet. Is there a document or some software or a sticky note that you encourage your organizations to keep inventory on?
Yeah, so we didn't always, which was super fun coming in, and it kind of was that sticky note method where it's like, Joe over in accounting knows where this document is sealed away in some Google folder. But Hannah and I really worked on organizing all of this stuff, and I continue to do that today. I will say we still do use Google Drive, which is maybe not the most effective tool. But a lot of our particularly social media content, if you're using a platform like we use Later, I use it for both the Philanthropy Coach and APCH, you can store your content right there, and you can actually draft posts and save them and tag people for approval right in the program. So you're not needing to like grab from a million different places. It's all right there. People can approve, and then you can schedule it there, and you're not kind of saving all this content in a million different places and trying to, download it on your phone to post from there. It's been a really effective tool for me personally. And then as far as the donor welcome packet, we've got our development team has a stewardship folder in Google Drive, and that's where we store all of our materials that we might need to grab from when we're talking to donors, volunteers, corporate partners, potential grant funders, all of those things. We've got one central folder where everything lives.
Love it. Yeah, great insight. And if I may add, I know we had a question about the grants, and I would love to add to the resources that the two of you shared. I love a good impact report, and in particular, an infographic, like a front and back infographic. I find that's a great grant stewardship piece that you can send twice a year to the funders rather. And whether they funded you or not, I always use that as a good kind of like a keep in touch strategy. And it's a good reminder for them to, keep you on their radar and vice versa. So that's in particular for the grant question. That's a great way to use this kind of information. Hannah, you are spot on. So many of these grants require additional information. I also attach an infographic or a program overview graphic built in Canva to those grant applications as well. So anytime you have a grant opportunity and you have the ability to attach additional documents and they don't tell you which additional documents, chef's kiss. Like that is the time that you want to shine and attach documents that you want to put in front of the reviewers. So thanks for letting me add that. Any questions? Yeah. Any other questions from our audience? I have another one.
Oh, along those lines, before you move on, Jarrett, like you can use elements of the new donor welcome packet separately as well. So if your second page was that impact report that you're talking about, just take the second page and share it. And that can be its own entity, but you're still not having to create something new. You can split them up, use them how they're beneficial.
Just separate PDF documents. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I do want to ask perhaps an elephant in the room question, right? Is how do you integrate AI into marketing communications? Are you doing this? I know some of the platforms you mentioned, including LinkedIn. Now we have that AI button. Canva has an AI button. This is not an AI webinar, but I would love to know how the two of you might be integrating AI to support these resources and tools.
Do you want me to start?
Sure.
I'm sure my answer is more succinct than Maggie's. So I do use ChatGPT to come up with great headlines for articles I may be writing, for subject lines for emails. You can, if you're not using ChatGPT yet, you can literally type in something like, give me a spicy headline for an article about X, Y, and Z, and it'll give you options. Or you say, give me 5 options, right? In my opinion, AI is a great place to get your juices flowing, but it does not, what it produces does not replace the kind of human touch that we want all of our donor communications to have, right? But I use ChatGPT all the time to just kind of get myself started. Also with formatting. So if you're working on something that's a little bit lengthier, or if you're having a hard time, with a really long paragraph of information and you want to break it down into more succinct bullets for people to read, you can use a tool like ChatGPT for that purpose. Maggie, I'm going to pass to you because I'm sure you've got lots of tools and tricks you're using.
I mean, similar to you, I think AI is a great tool for inspiration, for creativity, for discovering things that you might not have thought about. I use it all the time for inspiration for blog post titles when I'm just like having that writer's block. But again, like you said, Hannah, it doesn't replace the human touch. It doesn't replace me actually writing the blog post because it likes to use a lot of the same phrases. You can kind of tell, when it's AI. So you don't want to just kind of like copy paste, but it's great to get some ideas and then add your own personalization in.
Great. I would echo both of that, right? I use it often for the inspiration, get me off just a blank page that's looking back at me, like just get me going. So, excellent. We have a question. Will we send out slides of the examples shown, specifically the welcome packet and those thank you letters? So I believe the answer is yes, that will be available. It won't particularly be an additional attachments. It will be just what you saw, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it will be just what you saw on the slides. And so yes, April, you will be getting those. And then
sorry, and you'll get the booklet that Hannah mentioned at the beginning where you can actually fill out kind of our recommendations for creating your own welcome packet and thank you letters.
Right on cue.
Yes.
I love that.
So QR codes, I don't know, I don't know that we talked at all about them specifically, but I would offer that one of the best things that came out of the global pandemic we all lived through was that everyone now knows how to use these QR codes. Even my 77-year-old father. So consider using them whenever you need more space in the documents and the assets you produce. And to Jared's point earlier, when you're sending additional materials in, let's say you're working with a funder who's super old school and they want paper copies of everything you submit for a grant, you can still send them a document that gives them a QR code to access your video or your website, right? So this is our QR code for today. This is how you download the workbook. That is not what you saw Maggie present. You'll be getting all of the slides that we used as from Fundraising Academy following the session. But right now you can download the workbook and get started using that tool to create your own new donor welcome packet and thank you letters.
Love it. What a great resource. So yeah, go ahead and now you can scan that QR with your phone. Or maybe you have some of those amazing glasses that you already did it just by looking at it, but go ahead and scan that QR and you'll get this amazing download. And then there's also, if you wish to schedule time with the philanthropy coach, you can do that here as well. And Hannah, if we can advance, I would love to share with everyone that we have additional trainings, additional sessions coming up at the beginning of May, and it is coming soon. So May 2nd and 3rd, join us at the Cultivate 2024 conference. This is the second inaugural conference. Really looking forward to this. I'm honored to serve alongside with the team and help with the planning, as are Maggie and Hannah as well. So please do join us. Another QR, you can scan that QR and get additional information. Hannah will be presenting, and yes, go ahead, share a little bit about your session overview, Hannah.
Yeah, so I'll be facilitating a super fun panel called Expedite Your Career, Find a Mentor. And I've recruited some amazing, they are all women, amazing women to speak on this panel who are pretty senior in their careers. So they have great mentors to talk about and honor in the discussion, but also talk about how they mentor people who are more junior to the nonprofit sector. So that will be May 2nd at 11:30 a.m. Hope you'll join us there.
Awesome. And then just after lunch, I will be presenting, and it dovetails perfectly with today's webinar. So I will be sharing about rinse, repeat, recycle your content. So a lot of the same information that Maggie and Hannah just shared with you, I'm going to share about how you can elevate that and weave it into different ways and formats to communicate with your stakeholders. Again, using Canva, like how can you use an impact report and use that on social media or in your newsletters? And so I talk about two ways. How do you take a document and extrapolate what's in it to use in multiple ways, as well as the reverse? How do you take all these bits and pieces that you've created over the year and put it into one document, perhaps your annual report at the end of the year? So it kind of goes both ways on that rinse, repeat, recycle. Like many of you, I often work with clients and nonprofits around the nation that have small shops. So time is of essence, capacity, as Maggie mentioned as well. So that's a great opportunity.
Love it.
And let's see. We will also, thank you, be at Icon. So if anyone is going to Toronto, April 8th and the 9th, we will have some representatives. Hannah, I believe you're going. Is that right?
It's
I know I'm
me.
sadly
Yeah.
missing it this year.
Yeah, I'll be there. Myself and LaShonda Williams will be presenting these two sessions. Super excited to present alongside LaShonda. She's incredible. She's a tiny little powerhouse of a presenter. So if you will be in Toronto, you're not going to want to miss that. We'll be talking about post give day tips. So we're seeing a lot of these give days being promoted around the country, which is really exciting. And what do you do with all those new supporters once you've spent all that time promoting your give day? We're going to talk about that and how to get you geared up to keep folks in the fold and really increase those retention rates. And then on April 9th, unlocking donor potential, transforming volunteers into cause champions through relationship-driven fundraising. So that's going to be not just your volunteers that, do the work on the ground and, at a place called home, they do a lot of great volunteerism with the kids, but it's also your board of directors, right? So how do we make sure that all of our volunteers are the best possible ambassadors and cause champions that they can be? So that's going to be super fun.
Thank you. That will be amazing. I'm sad to miss it, but have a wonderful time at Icon. And if you haven't checked out the online learning portal, please do that. You can visit register.fundraising-academy.org and go to the online learning portal. There is a plethora of information there, all there for your consumption. So please do take advantage of that. In the chat, there's also the registration link for Cultivate, kind of going back to the Cultivate conference, May 2nd and 3rd. So don't miss that either. And then if you'd wish to connect with Fundraising Academy or myself, more QR codes. So please go ahead and scan that. We are always here to be of service and support to you and your mission, no matter where you are. And then finally, a huge thank you to the Philanthropy Coach, both Hannah and Maggie. Again, phenomenal information. Hannah, I'm right there with you. Like, how did we get to 20 plus years in the sector? I know it's been quite the journey. It's been a lot of fun. You can see here the Philanthropy Coach is on Instagram as well as LinkedIn. So please also check with them. Their email addresses are so generously provided as well. And ladies, is there any other wrap-up comments you'd like to make before we bid our guest adieu?
Just a big thank you to Fundraising Academy for having us, to all of you for attending today and staying engaged, and to you, of course, Jared, for being our hostess with the mostest as always. It's always such a pleasure and a joy. And we hope to connect with everyone online and see you at Cultivate in May, and maybe even at Icon next month in Toronto.
Yeah. Right before that. Well, thank you both very much. Maggie Stillman, Hannah Berger, thank you. It's phenomenal. Again, for everyone that joined and registered, you will get the recording sent to you with these slides. So thank you for joining us today. And we hope to have you join us rather at an upcoming webinar. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everyone.